I feel like I can see qualities and I can see growth opportunities, and that's where I tend to get judgy. But I think if we can take what we learn when we compare each other and just kind of like, all right, how can we all elevate the greater good? It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can still covet the shoes or the house or the car, but work towards it.
Right.
Yeah. Because I'll see people when they compare and when the jealousy starts to come in, they'll discount the other people's stuff. Well, he's lucky, or he only got that because his daddy did blah, 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 or knows this person or whatever. Because I've seen people be discredited a lot, and it's sad. Everyone, and welcome to another episode of the No Limits podcast with Kristen Andre. I am here today with my fabulous sidekick, the marvelous Miss Mendoza. And today, you look very festive, by the way.
Holiday season. I tried.
Nice. I know. Well, I'm glad you're here because my favorite sidekick. Today, we're going to be talking about the comparison game.
Okay. So I'm excited about this one.
Are you excited about this one? Why are you excited about this one?
It's going to be good.
Okay. I didn't know if maybe there was something in your head you were thinking. Okay.
No.
All right. So the comparison game is a game that I think we don't intentionally mean to play, but we do all the time. I am so freaking guilty of this. It's not even funny. Yes. I found myself doing this last night, and at the end of the night, I was like, I'm just like down. It was one of those things where I was like, it's hard to snap out of it sometimes too.
Yes.
So when I say comparison game, what initially comes to mind for you?
The first thing when you sent me this I thought of is us comparing ourselves to someone else.
Yep.
So like, they have this, they have that,
right.
They look this way, they have this job position,
right.
They've got this car, this house, this
everything.
Fill in the blank.
Yeah. But do you typically see it where we're comparing it based on stuff or qualities or what?
Yes. Loaded answer. A lot of times I feel like it comes from the outward.
Yeah.
Everything is outward, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Even from the stuff to how I perceive you. So like, she handled that really well. I might not have handled it that well.
Yeah, I don't handle a lot of things well.
Well, but sometimes I think like on the inside, we're like, you say a bunch of words that don't actually come out. Well, but you don't know what that person's going on the inside.
And I think that's what's so interesting. So the comparison game, it's a really popular quote. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Yes.
Right? Very popular quote. We've heard it a lot. I have it saved in my phone because I have to send it to clients a lot of time when they start playing that comparison game. And I see it now a lot because we're at the end of the year, we're going into a new decade. We're doing all this cool stuff. And people are like, I'm not where I want to be. I wish I was like so-and-so, or this person hit this goal and I fell just short of it. So they're comparing, but I always say, what you're comparing, you don't even know. Like you really don't know the true version of them. I mean, I think we've talked about this on the show before. Social media, it's a highlight reel. And I've certainly had people make judgments about me or who they think I am based on what they see on social, which I'm very truthful on social, but I'm only sharing the good stuff. I mean, it's definitely a highlight where I admit that all the time. I've definitely got cruddy things. I just don't like to post it.
Right.
And, I think if all of us were more honest about, so with comparison, I think that's part of what brings us down.
Oh,
it makes us worry.
Totally. Yeah. And, I know we mentioned on previous shows that not everything bad, like a bad day isn't everyone's business.
For sure. Yeah.
But if you are one of those people who has a car, but you're home at night and you can't sleep because you can't make that payment.
Yeah.
That's something you're not going to talk about, right?
Laying in bed thinking about making a car payment.
Yes, because that's the opposite of the point that you're trying to go after. You want everyone to think a certain way about you.
But that's what's so interesting to me with this comparison game, because like I said, I am guilty of it for sure. And with me, it has to do, I would say, with things, which is terrible, or experiences, not just, it rarely has to do with the quality of somebody, because I think you are who you are. But, if somebody is having has something that I like, man, that'd be cool to have. You hate to call it jealousy, but it's totally what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it's rooted in. But I think part of it is also there's something deep inside of us that we feel like we've let ourselves down, or we wouldn't be comparing ourselves.
Right. Yes. You feel like you've missed the mark.
Right.
You're inadequate in some form or fashion. Yeah.
You know, and it's funny because my dad says this all the time. I quote my dad on here all the time, but he probably should start listening to this because I'm saying a lot of his good wisdom here.
Sending you a royalty bill.
Right. But he always said if you throw your problems out on the table, if everybody in the world were around and they threw their problems out on the table, you'd probably take your own back. You really would. So we're comparing ourselves to people. I know he's really smart.
That's good.
Right?
Yeah.
Very lucky. But he always said that because you think all these things are wrong. Like, oh, I didn't hit this goal, or I don't have this, or I don't have this car, or this house, or this purse, or whatever it is, or I don't get to go on 5 trips around the world a year like so-and-so. But if we really looked under the hood of everybody, we'd probably take our own stuff back.
Problems back. Yeah.
Yeah. So why are we guilty? Why are you guilty, Miss Mendoza? Putting you on the spot here.
Yeah. A lot of times it does originally come in the form of very similar to you. That would be nice to have, right? Like, ooh,
I like that. Yeah.
Maybe if I save this much in this amount of time, I can get that, right?
But why don't we flip that and use it instead of it being like a comparing game? Why don't we use that as a motivator?
Yes.
Which would be a great use for comparison.
Yes.
If we turn the game into a
right. And
I
feel like I've gotten better at that because I had a similar experience like that earlier this week where we were in a strategy session and the female CEO of this company walked in and you could just tell she was the CEO. You could just,
she had that presence. I love that, by the way. That's awesome.
From the way she was dressed, even like, because I'm a details person, like her nails, the jewelry, the way she had chosen it. And not only that, the way she owned
her presence.
Yes,
absolutely.
And so I thought to myself, not in a, because you can tell, right? It's hard to describe. You can tell when you are looking at something from a like, oh, that's good to take inspiration from versus a jealousy factor. Yeah. And that's where I went. I was like, it was an inspiring thing, the way that I looked at it.
That's cool. That's the right way to look at it, though.
Yeah.
So comparison game, I think comparing ourselves to other people isn't necessarily bad. It's what we do with it. So if it does rob our joy, the comparison thief of joy, if it does rob our joy, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
But maybe we should look at it like a comparison launch pad, meaning like if I'm going to compare myself to somebody and I truly want to be like them, whether it's something they have, places they go, or quality they possess, what do I need to do to launch from where I am to where they are?
Yeah.
So that for you with the CEO, and I've certainly encountered people like that. And I've encountered, I won't name by name, a very, very, very wealthy person that in my old firm we had the opportunity to meet. Phenomenal billionaire. I was shocked with how little presence this person had.
Interesting.
Which was very interesting to me because there were so many other people in the room that you would have looked at, and phenomenal man, like very nice. I had a wonderful conversation, but the presence wasn't there. So like to your point, like some people walk in and own it. Now most people would covet that, everything that he had done and accomplished. And then a lot of people would be like, I don't know, I'd rather have the present. So it's, I think it's different for everybody what it is they're comparing to.
It is.
Like what's standing out there.
Yeah. I kind of went, when we were talking about that, I go through my mind. So, when you go get an eye exam and they bring that thing in front of you and they're like number 1 or number 2. And like it's really all about the lens that you're looking. Are you going to look through it?
That's a good analogy there.
One way.
That. Okay.
Thanks.
I like that. Okay.
Thought of that just for you.
I know. I'm thinking, man. Okay.
But it's like switching the lens. Are you going to look at it through a jealousy lens or an inspiration?
And that's where I think, the comparison game, like I mentioned, I don't think it's necessarily bad as long as we're using it for something productive. So where we get in trouble is when we're comparing, we're like, I don't have this, and it makes you sad. Right. And I've seen that. I do it less with things and experiences. I really do. I think I do it more with qualities. Because, it's one of those things, people that know me, I'm a big personality, right? I've gotten that feedback a lot. this is not shocking news to anyone who has met me. But, then you'll see somebody, or you're not chosen for something, or a relationship or anything like that. Not chosen, but you know what I mean? Where you're comparing yourself, well, why them and not me?
Yeah.
So that's what, for me, I'm more guilty of that. Like, okay, am I too, you're always, I saw that quote, you're always too loud, too soft, too big, too, small, too tall, too short, whatever it is. We're always too something.
Yeah.
And I feel like whatever we don't have, that's what we start comparing ourselves to.
Right.
But if you round out the edges, you lose the edge, right? So
True.
if I'm not as big of a personality, am I going away from me?
Right.
Who's really me?
Right.
So I think that's where we get in trouble, at least for me, is I'll try to fit myself into the mold I think I need to be in.
Right.
And that's not scary, but that's not good.
Well, and another interesting play on that, kind of back to your advice that your father gave.
Yeah.
You can be too quiet.
Yep.
And then if you try to make yourself smaller, shrink down,
yeah,
well, then you're too quiet.
Exactly.
So you can be too loud, and then you think you're making an adjustment. Well, then others complain because you're too quiet.
Right. And then, and in somebody like me who is a strong personality, and that, I like to talk and I like to have conversations with people. If I'm quiet, it automatically is, what's wrong?
Yeah.
Or she's not engaged, or something's wrong, or, it's, people are used to what they're used to, but I think sometimes we don't embrace us enough, and we try to compare, okay, well, this person, Whitney was like this and everybody loved her, so I need to try to do that, as opposed to just owning the qualities that we have about ourselves that make us great.
Right.
Maybe hiding some of the ones that aren't so great, but I feel like that's where we get in trouble. At least for me it is.
No, I agree. Yeah. And I love because something that's really helped me is when you say, not my people.
Not my people. Yep. I say that a lot lately.
But that's true. Like, if you don't like that, then you're just not my people. Now, there are...
And there's no judgment in saying not my people. Because it's... some people have challenged me before on it. And it's fine. I'm totally fine when people challenge me. But people will be like, well, that's not nice. You should be inclusive. I'm inclusive of everybody. But some people just aren't my people. I'm not theirs.
Right.
And that's okay.
Right.
No judgment to them or anybody else. But not everybody's meant to be in your little bubble. Right. Not everybody's meant to be your client. Not everybody's meant to be your friend. Whoever it is.
And you're doing yourself a disservice by trying to fit the square into the round peg. Or
all right. So do you see yourself at because I know you just had a birthday, so you're much wiser and older now.
I like
significantly.
1201.
Exactly. You just felt it.
Yes.
Okay. I tried to snap. For those of you guys, I don't know how to snap, so there's no sound coming out of my fingers. But but now that you're older, do you see yourself doing that less or more? Like, I definitely don't compare as much as I did when I was younger.
Yes. Over the years, I have learned to view it the way that we talked about earlier, of not coming from a jealousy standpoint, but let this inspire me.
Yeah.
Because you do, if you've never been, like, the CEO is a great example, right? Because, like, let's say you've never been a CEO before, but maybe you just stepped into that role 2 months ago. Well, you've never done that before. So you need someone to be a guidance of it. Like, this is what a good CEO looks like. Yeah. Otherwise, you're kind of stumbling in the dark.
It's true. I mean, and it's one of those things, like you said, it's something you aspire to. So I think comparison, if we use it for the good, let's use our powers for good here. If we're going to compare to somebody, to know that, okay, that's someone I aspire to be, and figuring out, could that person be a mentor? Part of it is the fact that you have to be comfortable with other people's success.
Right.
And I think that's where the comparison game plays poorly with a lot of people. Like, my philosophy, I had this conversation with somebody the other day, a firm that works with a lot of financial advisors, as I do, and we do similar work but complementary, and we're having this conversation about how we might collaborate together. And both of us had the philosophy of, there are so many people that need our help. We're not in competition with each other. We could collaborate. We serve the same markets. We do very close to the same thing, but not everybody's for me, not everybody's for them. So there was no jealousy there. And I was so excited to hear about the cool stuff they had and the clients that they won. And I think you've got to, if you're going to successfully play the comparison game, you've got to be rooting for other people's success.
Yeah.
And using that as kind of a springboard or a launch pad to use the comparison as a motivator, I guess.
It's interesting because a lot of our conversations center around self.
Yeah.
And like self-confidence.
Yeah.
And what you just said in my mind points back to that, right? Like for you to be able to look at someone and take their best qualities and say, yeah, you know what? I could be a little bit better of a communicator because I've seen the way you
for sure,
took that role and mastered it. To be able to look at it through that lens and just use it as that inspiration for yourself. And there was our girl, Rachel Hollis.
You know, we love our Rachel Hollis.
She put out a video recently, and I believe the question was centered around confidence of how do you maintain it?
Yep.
Because I guess the listener was kind of going through this moment where they were experiencing like they would get in the room with someone else, and that would diminish their confidence.
Oh, okay.
And so Rachel responded with, then you're not really confident. Because if somebody else has the power to be able to take that from you, then your confidence isn't genuine.
Nobody should be able to take your confidence. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you don't have, my theory on confidence is if you don't have enough, borrow some from somebody else. Find your person who's going to boost you up.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, when I was new in the financial industry, I mean, I definitely had like big closes and things I was trying to do where I needed somebody just to give me that little pat on the back.
Yes.
Build me up and send me out there so you can borrow confidence from people. Like, there are definitely days where I'm feeling uber confident and some days I'm like, yeah, this is really not my day. Yeah. But you just got to borrow it.
Can we go back to bed and wake up and try that again?
Go again tomorrow. But you got to be able to borrow it from, or at least know who your people are. And that's part of the things, and you're not for everybody, is just, if you know who your people are, they'll build you up. Mm-hmm. But there's, part of the comparison game where I think as I've gotten older, I play it for sure. But I try to use it, like you said, as a motivator where it's like, okay, what can I take from this? What can I learn from this person? Because I feel like everybody has great qualities in them. They may not see them.
Right.
But that's one of the things I feel like I do is I can pull out the good qualities, and try to figure out, all right, this person may be really good at that. And what can we learn from it? So if you're going to compare yourself to somebody, do it in the way that you're finding their good stuff and you're letting them know how good it is, and then you're trying to aspire to be the same.
And it's a growing process. Like,
it's totally a growing process.
You don't come out the womb with like
knowledge.
Yes, like I'm not going to compare because I'm a perfect baby. Like, it just doesn't work. You have to develop it. You do. I mean, it's everybody's different. Like everyone's different, because I'll have people. I mean, again, we're all guilty of it. I mean, anybody out there, if you guys are listening and you're sitting here going, I never compare, you are lying through your teeth, like for sure lying. I want you to message me and say, no, I'm serious and we're going to meet and I will promise you I can pull it out, because everybody does it. Yeah, like it's a game that everybody's playing. Mm-hmm. They want to admit it. And, the opportunity is to be able to compare and take the lesson and move forward. Right.
Or compare and not judge, because a lot of times we judge too. Mm-hmm. And I always say that to my kids. I'm like, I'm not judgmental at all. And they're like, oh my God, Mom, yes, you are. And I'm like, no, really. But I try not to. That's a hard thing for me. But it's really because I feel like I can see qualities and I can see growth opportunities. And, that's where I tend to get judgy. But I think if we can take what we learn when we compare each other and just kind of like, all right, how can we all elevate the greater good? It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can still covet the shoes or the house or the car, but work towards it.
Right.
Yeah. Because I'll see people when they compare and when the jealousy starts to come in, they'll discount the other people's stuff. Well, he's lucky, or he only got that because his daddy did blah, 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 or knows this person or whatever. Because I've seen people be discredited a lot, and it's sad. When somebody will compare themselves to him, like, well, he only did that because of, his father set him up with all his contacts. I hear that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I covet your laptop case.
Do you covet my laptop? Do you like my laptop case? For those of you guys watching, I'm very excited about my laptop. My Chic Geeks laptop case. So thank you. Are you coveting it?
One day.
But see, aspire to get this. You are going to have one. We've talked about that. I'm telling you. But that's the thing. It's cool to like stuff, but then go after it yourself. Like,
and heck, Kristen, if you hadn't gotten that first, I would have never known about them.
I know. That's true. Exactly true.
Great example.
I know. It's a very good example. Because here's the thing. You've got to see it. And if you like something, it's not a bad thing to covet something that people like, other than thy neighbor's wife. What's it? Stay away from the Bible,
That's
the
true.
10 Commandments,
Don't do
not that one. But anything else, shoes, laptop cases. But for real, though, I think if we're going to compare ourselves, how can people really make sure that they're making an intentional effort to use the comparison for good?
Well, like a good indicator of how you're looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think how do you know if you're using the comparison for good?
Something you mentioned at the beginning of the show, which was how you feel. Like if you are drained at the end of whatever the encounter was, that's probably a good indicator that you were looking at it from a jealousy standpoint.
Yeah. But you can look at it as a motivator. I had a client event I went to earlier. I think you've seen these pictures last week, and it was a wonderful client appreciation event they had. It was put on at Tiffany's, which was beautiful. And, everybody talk about comparison. Everybody. So the staff was nice enough to let me wear a necklace for the evening that literally would have paid for my daughter's entire law school. And, people are, and it's so funny because this is when I talk about borrowing, like the string, people are like, oh, that necklace is gorgeous. It looks so good. I'm like, I know, right? Because it wasn't mine. I could easily brag on this necklace. I got to wear it for the entire evening. It was fantastic. It was a hugely expensive necklace. And, I was sitting there at the end of the night when the very large guys that were following me out all evening made me give it back. Before I went through the steel security doors. Yeah. At the end of the night, I was sitting there going, that was cool. It was fun. It was really cool. But there are probably some people out there that are like, man, I need that. And I didn't feel that I needed it. It wasn't I didn't buy it. It wasn't anything that I really felt called to. But I know there are people with things like that, like a jewelry or a car or a house or whatever, where they just are like, they're all consuming. And that's where I think comparison, not only, just it bringing us down, but if comparison becomes all consuming, right, that's bad. Like I thought it was so much fun to wear that necklace. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. I would love to have a necklace like that. But it wasn't all consuming. It didn't take every ounce of me to, I haven't been thinking about it for a week. I mean, I do look back at that picture because it was pretty cool.
A little bit.
But, it hasn't robbed me of anything.
Right.
To make the comparison, like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
So I think as long as you compare, you use it as a launch pad and you don't let the comparison become all consuming, then you can use your powers for good.
It's almost like a drug. Like the next high, the next thing.
That's probably true.
When I get this thing, then I'll be here, right? Like we hear that all the time.
For sure.
We hear how people just look at life that way. Like when I get to point A, then.
And when you get to because I've been at point A multiple times, you get to point A and then point A becomes something new and you get there and that becomes something new. It's always something more and more and more.
You've got to get to point E before.
And I think, part of it now, for me at least, I'm moving a lot from things to experiences. I'm taking this fantastic course right now with Jesse Itzler called Build Your Life Resume, and it's so fun. And it's talking about how you live life and your experiences. So he does give us business lessons. And if you don't know Jesse, New York Times bestselling author, he wrote Living with the CEO, Living with the Monks. He's married to Sarah Blakely. He's founded Zico Water and a jet company, and he's just phenomenal. But he's so much into the experience. If you passed him on the street and didn't know who he was, you wouldn't think, oh man, there's this big millionaire type of guy. He's just so real. And that's what I've really appreciated about the course. But he spends the bulk of the course, even though we talk about business strategies, he spends the bulk of it talking about relationships and experiences. And that's what's been really cool is he doesn't compare himself to anybody. I mean, it's just more like, hey, I want to live life this way. I want to have great relationships and great fun and great experiences. And I think that allows him to not compare.
Yeah.
He definitely, he said a few things and given some examples where, you can get a chip on his shoulder about something or whatever. And we all do that. So it's so normal that we all do it. But anything that he sees that he starts to compare, it's a launch pad for him. I mean, that guy could do anything. He's one of those guys he's like, I'm gonna start this company. You're like, I'm in, just because he's so energetic and engaging. Yeah.
Okay, what I'm about to say is going to be really cheesy.
Okay.
So here comes the cheese train.
All right.
There's a quote, and I won't be able to execute the quote, but it's essentially kind of to bring all this back as a base. Compare yourself to like last year, Whitney, right?
Oh, for sure.
Like 2019 Whitney, 2018 Whitney. Well, 2020 Whitney is going to be completely different, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
again, I've learned, I've grown.
Yep.
1201 on December 13th. I just jumped a whole year wiser. Like,
You did.
compare yourself. If you feel like you're stuck, maybe that's
Well,
what you should be
and I
looking
mean,
at.
that's it's the only person you have to compare to is the person you were yesterday.
Yeah.
That's really like the gist of it is what, am I ahead of where I was? Am I ahead of, where I was last year, last month, last week, yesterday, whatever it is. So if I like comparing ourselves to ourselves.
Yeah.
We could do that. I think that's good. But with a healthy dose of comparing yourself to the people you aspire to be like.
Yep.
Not just financially, but, good people type of stuff. Because we should all aspire to be good people.
Yes.
I don't always excel at that, but
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
I'm there. I'm aspiring to it. So. My kids would beg to differ, but I'm aspiring to be a good person. No. All right. So I like that. I like that thought in terms of better yesterday. It wasn't cheesy. It wasn't cheesy at all.
Okay.
No, you got that face like I think it's
cheese
cheesy.
on me.
No, but it's really a matter of quit playing the bad version of the comparison game. If you're going to play the game, play the fun version.
Yeah.
No sense in playing boring games, right?
That's true.
So if you're going to play the comparison game, play it as a motivator. Play it as a impetus to take that next step forward to be better than you were last year.
Yeah.
So 2020, we're in a new decade. Or as my daughter likes to say it because she's a huge JFK fan, we're in a new decade. So we have an entirely new decade ahead of us.
It's the Roaring 20s.
It is you know this about me. I'm a huge Great Gatsby fan, so I'm so excited. Like I was starting to write some stuff in a blog post the other day. Like this is awesome. Like we're in the Roaring 20s again. So for the Roaring 20s, comparing yourself, comparing yourself only with the person you were yesterday, and only playing the comparison game with others if it's going to launch you towards where you want to go. Sound fair?
Love it.
I like it too. All right, folks, until next week, keep pushing past those limits.